Nice.
All right. Nice to meet you, Jack. Glad we finally got you in the door.
Yes, nice to meet me. I assume I'm speaking to Nick, or Nick is speaking to me.
That's correct. This is
Yep.
Nick. So
Yes, good to meet all of you.
yeah, I appreciate it, Jack. So what I'll introduce the team. We'll get into it, but all I really know about you is your Tom buddy named Jack, and you have a business background. Could you kind of give us a little bit of context? Would that be okay?
Sure, be happy to do that.
Okay.
Started my career on Wall Street in New York City, investment banking. Spent 10 years there, and then decided I couldn't take it anymore. So I left and went off on my own, and I've been building companies, running companies, raising capital for the last 40 plus years. Probably have raised about $2 billion in debt and equity for a variety of different types of businesses, primarily commercial real estate. But I don't know whether Tom told you, but I can't believe it now. 14 years ago, I was asked to get involved in a startup in the cannabis industry. And so I begged off because I had a very successful consulting business going, and distressed assets and representing institutions around the country. But my partners didn't want me to do it, but I liked the plan and finally committed myself to it. And we built what is now the largest cannabis company in the world, Curaleaf. So I've built hotels, I've built homes around the spec homes. So quite an interesting and long history of business development, I guess.
Definitely. Great,
Right.
great background, Jack.
So I feel honored to be in your presence. That's amazing. That's really incredible. And
Thank you.
Can't wait to get some of your wisdom on what we're trying to pull together. So, all right, well, I'll get right into it. We'll just kind of, go through the pitch, and then, at the end, just whatever criticisms you have, we're more than welcome to. Just looking for your insight on this. So, all right. So in introducing the team, we have Tom. He's acting as CFO. He's acting in capacity as CFO and asset manager. Created and instituted all budgeting, accounting, and reporting systems for property management companies, law firms, healthcare facilities, for-profit entities, tax associate for individuals, corporations, partnerships, nonprofits at the world's largest CPA firm. Attended University of Denver on full academic scholarship, graduated with honors and a bachelor's in accounting, earned a master's in taxation at DU Law School. Then we have Carlos. Carlos has extensive management experience. We're working him up into the COO role. He's been here since pretty much day one, and I'm really excited to have him as part of the team. Then we have Shacy. She's right now we're calling her the executive assistant, but she's very quickly outgrowing that role. And so she was valedictorian of her class in 2021. She has experience in high-level math and design elements. Steve he's acting as our CRO and CPO. He's wearing a couple of different hats as well. He is also co-founder. He's a 30-year tech industry veteran. His experience includes being an Accenture partner under the Global Management Consulting, establishing the first industry vertical at Oracle, and co-founding a startup called Helios in 2020. He has extensive experience of building and bringing innovative technologies to market globally, and a broad range of experience from startup to Fortune 50 companies. Sam is CTO. He is also co-founder with me. Sam has 6 years in development and technology research, 2 years of that being information security. In the information security field, Sam has conducted in-depth penetration testing on multiple Fortune 500 clients such as AT&T, Apple, and Verizon. He's ranked as one of the top 5 in the United States in penetration testing. Over the last 2 years, Sam has turned his focus to blockchain and artificial intelligence. Sam has been the CTO of multiple startups building out artificial intelligence capabilities and has translated several innovative ideas into product-ready applications. He's also recently led Progressive, the insurance company, in the incorporation of artificial intelligence for audio advertising. And then myself, Nick, I'm CEO and co-founder. I have spent my entire adult life in the real estate industry, from everything from construction to design, build, development, project management, selling real estate, eventually settling in. I've just been doing designing and planning on very large scale projects for the last 8 years. So here's a little backstory. And, you know, it started a few years back. You know, I heard a piece of information online talking about NFTs and what they were and documents. And so, you know, I thought to myself, okay, well, we could, you know, I could put my house plans on the blockchain, right? And so I started poking at it a little bit, started, looking for developers, talking to companies. And at first, no one really knew what I was talking about. And so it was kind of an idle project that I just worked on once in a while, you know. And then early last year, probably about January 2023, as generative AI became more mainstream, that's when, you know, ChatGPT and all that kind of stuff started coming out. It just kind of clicked. And it's like, okay, that's how we reach our audience, right? That's going to be the most important transformational technology of our time. So which led me to push harder on this whole concept of new workflows, right? And that when I started pushing harder, that led me to cross paths with Sam. And from the very first conversation that Sam and I had, we began collaborating, and the idea began to grow. You know, coming from someone from his expertise and my industry experience, it just really started to come together. Since then, we've launched a generative AI tool that gives people remodel options of their homes in real time. You can take a picture, you can click render, and it'll take your kitchen and it shows you the possibilities of what you can do with that space. Then we also hosted the first house plan on a blockchain. And so those are really our key accomplishments for 2023. Those are the two big pieces. You know, and 2023 really was a year of discovery and validation for us. And what we learned and verified is that people are struggling. You know, people are struggling with their time. They're struggling with money. They're struggling with the fear that they might very well be replaced by artificial intelligence. And when I say people, I'm talking about our market, my industry, the home design, construction, and remodel industry, right? You know, and so I can go on and tell you stories about the remodel contractor who spent 20 hours bidding a project, working through design options with the client, only to be undercut by the next lowest bid. You know, I could give you examples of the architect who sit behind their computer screen hour after hour late into the night to provide a life for their families that they're really not even there to enjoy because they're just working. You know, or I could give you an example of the artists who burst and bring forth a architectural masterpiece into existence, something that's never been seen before, only to have their idea ripped off by artificial intelligence or just outright plagiarism. But I'm not going to get into all those. Instead, what I want to tell you about is the real problem, the root of the issue, and the real reason why the home design, construction, and remodel industry is suffering. We, as an industry, are ill-equipped to operate in the current environment in which we exist. I'm going to say that again. Our industry is ill-equipped to operate, much less flourish, in the current environment in which we exist. And here's the thing, is most people don't even understand what's happening. It's like death by a million cuts. It's 1 hour here, 5 minutes here. And pretty soon their 40-hour work week turns into an 80-hour work week, and they have just completely missed out on portions of their life. You know, all they know is they're in pain. And we're not talking about a few people here. I mean, we're talking about a lot of people that feel this pain. And this problem, this is the root of why Hauska exists. You know, to solve this problem, to solve the issue of being ill-equipped. So what do? How do we go about solving something like that? We give people their time back. That's what we do. We give them peace of mind, knowing they will have more time to spend with their families, knowing that their intellectual property is secure. We give them a fighting chance to keep up with the breakneck speed at which the world is changing and the technology is evolving. Because right now they're just scared and they don't know. There is so much uncertainty surrounding this stuff right now. People don't know what to do. You know, we give them easy to use tools and applications to convert more projects and run a more profitable business. We empower them with the tools and resources needed to flourish in today's economy. Everything else we're going to talk about are the details of a very carefully planned strategy that is mid-stride in providing these solutions. But it needs to come back to this point, that we are giving people their lives back, right? And I can speak from firsthand experience because this is what I set out to do, is enhance my workflow. And then with the help of the team here, everyone you see here is transformed into something that you see today. So how exactly do we do that? Well, we give them efficient, intuitive applications that ultimately lead to a better balance, eventually cutting out 50% of their workflow is what we can do with this technology, 50% of their workflow. And I feel we are in a very, very special moment in time with a even more incredibly special team. We are at the trough of one of the greatest technology adoption curves in history, and it's going to happen at such an accelerated rate that, you know, most people aren't going to know what hit them. So essentially what we've done over 2023 is we've established product market fit, and we'll get into the details on why I say that, but at the essence, that's what we've done. So what we're about to show you is a platform solution for this problem, broken down into 3 parts: design, protect, and exchange. In our view, these 3 elements build a proper foundation for the new challenges we face today. So from here, Sam is going to walk you through the product and competition. Then Steve will lay out the market opportunity and how we're going to go about it. And just, it's important to know that this deck and the opportunity outlined in it has been an amazing team collaboration, and I'm very, very excited about it. And it honestly is something bigger and more precise than I ever imagined. So there you go, Sam.
Hey, Nick. So good morning. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to present our platform. Here at Hauska, we've revolutionized the way architects, designers, and remodelers work, making their processes faster, more secure, and encouraging creativity. We're an end-to-end solution supporting designers and remodelers from project start to finish. First, at the core of our innovation, we have the Hauska application layer. This is where creativity meets efficiency. We start with our flagship applications, already built and in beta testing, Hauska Design and Remodel. With Remodel, remodelers can now rapidly generate diverse renderings of home remodels in various styles. This not only decreases the time to sale close, but also enriches the interactive experience with the customer, making each consultation a journey of visual discovery. Then there's Design Pro. This application is a game changer for designers, enabling them to create stunning renderings from house plans in less than a minute. What used to take 4 to 6 hours of intensive work now takes minutes, offering unparalleled customizability and ease of use. This efficiency doesn't just save time, it opens up new horizons for scaling their sales pipeline without the steep learning curve traditionally associated with rendering tools. Where current products demand over 6 months to master, Design Pro empowers designers from day one. And next we have Hauska Protect. This is our commitment to the security and storage needs of our customers. Hauska Drive is at the forefront, providing cryptographically secure file management and sharing, integrated with the Hauska platform. We also have Hauska IP protection, protecting our customers from AI scraping and IP ripoffs. Additionally, Hauska Exchange offers a unique space for our users to showcase their portfolios. Think of it as a microsite service tailored for designers and remodelers, simplifying the way they connect with the clients and present their work. At the foundation of our ecosystem is the Hauska technology platform. That's that second bar that you see there, ensuring consistency and feature function across all our applications. This uniformity means a cohesive look, feel, access control, and functionality throughout the Hauska suite, streamlining the addition of new applications to our application layer. Lastly, from our platform integrations are designed to seamlessly fit into a professional workflow. From design applications that integrate directly with desktop environments to artificial intelligence that safeguards architects, marketing materials, and house plans, and a decentralized cloud for secure and encrypted file storage. Hauska is not just a platform, it's a new standard for the industry. So today we've prepped a video for you of Design Pro. This is our new MVP dashboard. This is currently in beta testing. So we're going to be showing off on the top left, you can see Design Pro and Remodel, as well as Protect and Exchange. This is kind of like our application sandbox. Think of it as in the center there, this is the architects and remodelers going in, putting together their project, putting together their portfolio, protecting their assets, and generating renderings. Chasey, if you could click on play there. So here's the video. Design Pro offers both exterior and interior rendering options. Exploring the interior option here. First, you upload your house plan elevation view. You can see it on the image there. You select your desired output style like modern, a room type, and then a personalization like custom options like wood cabinets, wood floors, and white walls. And then you click rendering. Rendering takes about a minute, so we've streamlined this process for the presentation. And as you can see here in a couple of seconds, looking at the results, we can see the renderings accurately follow your prompts, filling in gaps with intuitive home design and providing 4 images to choose from for the final render. So it's very good at recognizing where the gaps might lie, filling in those gaps, and providing the user a very custom experience to personalize their elevation views. I think the biggest thing to call out is current rendering tools really do take around 4 to 6 hours at the minimum to come up with a rendering like this. And we're able to do it in less than a minute, providing photorealistic results as well. And as you can see, so here's a sample image that we prepared as well. This is the prompts that we gave our AI in Design Pro. So we said, we want a modern kitchen with white walls, brown floors, and brown cabinets.
Let me interrupt for a second.
Yeah, of course.
So the rendering that is in line form is what you put in. If I'm a designer, I put that in and then give it the prompts that you just described, and it comes up with the photo that you're showing.
Yep. Yeah. And it returns that in less than a minute. And that's discounting as well the time it takes to learn these design platforms. I think Nick's experience was about a year to become proficient and on the design platform. So it's about a year investment to even become efficient on your standard design platform out there today. With us, I mean, we have a onboarding in less than a minute and then generation in less than a minute. And maybe a couple minutes to learn the platform. So
are you suggesting that if I wanted to learn how to do this, to draw the design that you have in line drawings, that I can learn that on your platform and then convert it to have the 3D vision that I'm looking at?
So that's the portion that we don't provide. We're just providing the rendering, the 4 to 6 hours and the year-long learning experience to learn the design platform. That's to create just the rendering. So the line drawings, that's a whole separate thing. We're looking into potentially creating a suite. Another thing is integrating with existing design platforms to create those line drawings. So that's definitely part of the product roadmap that we've been thinking about in the future, is to integrate with those services so that they'll be able to interact with Hauska directly from their desktop.
All right. So if I'm already a skilled designer and I can create my line drawings, then I utilize the software and the programming that you're presenting here.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
right.
Yeah, got it. It's really brilliant, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah,
I have some background. I don't think I mentioned this when I told you, but I've designed and built, not me designing it, but me requesting my architects to design homes for spec building. I did a simple one in Hawaii a number of years ago, and I did a very fancy $5 million spec home in Naples.
Yeah.
And I understand the process. And then recently, in the last couple of years, I was intending to build a custom home for myself and my wife, and that turned into a nightmare. Fortunately, our architect was capable of doing what you're doing, and he does 3D walkthroughs. But the amount of time that he invested in that over the years to get to it, so he would show drawings with an elevation like you have, and then be able to walk through the door and see that. And that was pretty remarkable. And that got us down the road pretty well. But anyway, I know where you're going. So don't let me interrupt. You're doing a good job. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing that we're really trying to showcase here is the time it takes with our remodel platform. So that takes a house and changes the style of it. Going in, being able to show a remodeler your Pinterest board and have that remodeler very quickly come up with, 20 to 100 different options of, hey, this is what your house could look like in your neighborhood with these different styles, with these different options. I think that's what we're really enabling, is that remodeler doesn't have to go and generate a rendering or learn this software to be able to interact with their clients. They're able to interact one-on-one with their clients when they walk in the door and show them potential new options in seconds. So
on that subject, and I hate to interrupt you again, but last year we were going to do a remodel. Well, I guess it was two seasons ago. Yeah. We're going to remodel the house we're in now, and I searched and searched for people that I could have confidence in as contractors, and they came in and took all the measurements. And I had a lot of that done already because I've been thinking about it for years. They drew it, and then they tried to do a 3D modeling. Oh my God, it was just nowhere near what you guys are putting out. So maybe, anyway,
yeah,
I'm all too familiar with this.
Yeah, because the thing that we're not talking about is the variability in artistic acumen, right, is huge. There are some people that remodelers have not sort of crossed the chasm and are still doing these renderings by hand with pencil. So they'll do, a SketchUp, and right, people who are good at civil engineering are not necessarily very good at the artistic component. And so the irony here is for those that have crossed the chasm and they're using a software application to help them move from the elevation draw into the render, it's very possible that investment now is going to become obsoleted because the quality and speed of renders through tools like We're Building is going to really displace that effort. And as Sam said, just for one render, it could be 4 to 8 hours, right? People want revisions, right? It's simply impossible to say, I'll give you 50 options.
Yeah.
Well, they will give you 50 options, but the amount of money you're going to pay.
Open your wallet. And right, and extend your calendar.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. That's why I'm still living in the same house.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's what we've identified as one of our product market fits. So here's the exterior view. You can see the prompt was landscape and a meadow with, you know, a forest beyond on a foggy morning with natural daylight and just a beautiful rustic house. And it follows those prompts very, very well. With artificial intelligence, we're achieving about 95% to 100% accuracy on our line images. And then with artificial intelligence, I'm sure, as you know, messing around with image generation, it can hallucinate, add things where you don't want it. We've been able to train out the majority of those issues, leaving a result that resonates with the line drawing and represents what the designer had intended for the house. I think customization is another big aspect of it as well, being able to customize it for your client. So being able to show a rustic house in the mountains so that it really resonates with a client that maybe is building a house in the mountains. Next slide. So moving on to Hauska Protects, this is what we've identified as our next kind of market fit here. So we've integrated our Hauska Drive seamlessly with the design platform. This platform ensures your renders from the design platform are automatically saved in the Hauska Drive, enhancing file security and platform management. So essentially you go in, you do your render, it gets saved automatically here in safe file storage. Beyond storage, we safeguard your files from AI and IP scraping. And with a Web3 folder, your files gain the advantage of cryptographically secure, decentralized storage. So we're providing a way for architects and designers to securely store their assets and protect it from getting ripped off by AI or others. So we're essentially providing plagiarism protection as well.
Is that, I mean, this is really critical in my opinion, that protection. And, you know, I'm familiar with blockchain and I have some investments in some companies that are startups in that arena. And they're, as we're going through this, you know, one of the guys that brought it to me is someone that I, we'll continue with this, that they want to introduce you to. But it's so, I mean, AI and the concerns that people have about it, I'm not worried about it taking jobs. It probably will. But you're talking about protecting the artist's, work. What makes you guys, confident that you can do it, that it won't be broken into? I mean, you're clearly very bright, Sam, and it boggles my mind, how this stuff has evolved. And I've invested in crypto, and so I'm just barely familiar with all of it. But what gives you the confidence that you can keep this stuff protected?
The best part about so starting with the AI and IP scraping, so we're integrating with, back on our integration slide, we don't have to go all the way back, but there's a company or a research project that was just released out of the University of Chicago, and they're pushing out results for protecting images. So that's our first component. You run it through their software, and the result is an image that will scramble the artificial intelligence. So the big issue with IP ripoffs is you can scrape a ton of images, online images, and as people will be posting these online, that makes them a target for scraping. Those get stored into a database, and then you can train in artificial intelligence on those images. So say someone spends, I don't know, a couple of days working on a line drawing, and then that line drawing, that rendering that they created on our platform, that's an artistic piece from their line drawing. We don't want other people to then be able to go in, train in artificial intelligence on that line drawing and on that artistic kind of piece there, and then start generating similar outputs. It's a issue of plagiarism, and the AI scrambler, what it does is it prevents those images from being used in a training data set. The AI tries to recognize those images, and something they do with the pixels, it scrambles that artificial intelligence, and essentially you don't get solid outputs training on images that have been protected by our platform. So that's component number one. The other big component is with the blockchain. So we're integrating with Filecoin. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but
specifically.
decentralized file storage. And the best part about it is no one else has access to their files on Filecoin. They're the only ones able to access it and retrieve it. So we're putting all the power in the hands of the client and the customer. So providing that decentralized file storage ensures that when you're storing on S3, AWS can go in and remove your files from S3. No one can take your files off of Filecoin. Once they're on there, only you have the power to remove it. So it's a completely decentralized system in that aspect, giving people the peace of mind of, well, if I put my house plan on this website, it's going to be there till the end of time. So,
yeah, I mean, just if I can add a couple more points on those AI protections and the University of Chicago project. So they were recognized in 2023, but they won numerous industry awards. They were recognized by Microsoft and OpenAI. So it is and even so, as widely recognized as they were, it remains, I'd say, low awareness because it is a very technology focused effort, right? And University of Chicago is not spending millions marketing their solution. I have two so far. So Glaze is the one that Sam mentioned, which is fundamentally it makes it significantly harder to train your AI on those images because they've been scrambled in a way where it's nearly imperceptible, the changes to your image to the human eye. But to an AI who looks at every bit of an image, it makes it extremely difficult for those to learn. So the vast majority of machine learning today will be fooled by that image because the learning algorithms don't account for those issues. And then the second component, called Nightshade, is incredibly interesting in that if a machine learning model attempts to digest or learn too many images that have been treated with Nightshade, it will essentially unlearn what it learned, such that, for example, if it's learning different types of cats, and so between tigers and lions and house cats, etc. If it learns from too many of the images that are protected by Nightshade, it will completely scramble that AI, so it's just as likely to give you an image of a dog or a house than an image of a cat. So, I mean, you've nailed it. All creatives across all industries are extremely concerned by this, particularly branded creators are experiencing right now. Those people that are well known either in music, in art, in voiceovers, the AI models are learning their style, and then people are essentially selling reproductions of their style. And so this will help guard against it. And it will for sure be, an ongoing process of leapfrog where, people will work to overcome, and I'll call them bad actors in the field, to overcome the current protections in Glaze and Nightshade. But I'd say the protectors are winning the battle so far. So if you have other people in the industry that are fighting this problem, we can certainly give you more information on this project. And we're just lucky that, Sam is also based in Chicago and has been also working in this industry. And together we work with people that have written books with MIT around AI, destined to become New York Times bestsellers, and starting, other types of startups. So in the AI space, we aren't sort of out on a limb just doing our own thing. We're very much connected into and really what primarily still drives it, even OpenAI to many respects continues to be a very academic oriented approach, because the heart of what drives machine learning continues to evolve at an incredibly rapid pace.
Yeah. So Yeah, does that answer your question around the protection?
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you. My broad question was, aimed at, what kind of a moat do you guys have? And I think you're answering it. So, keep going.
Awesome. Yeah, we're to talk a little bit more about like the moat and the security of our file system. So we're integrating with a company called Steel Dome, and they provide the integration with Filecoin. They've been recommended by Filecoin to us, so the decentralized storage as a connector. We're trying to make this a seamless process as well, because to interact, as you know, with Web3 and decentralized technologies, you need wallets and various stuff like that. So we're that Web2, Web3 connection, giving people the benefits of Web3 decentralized storage on quote unquote Web2 platform.
Yeah, and from a moat perspective, right, recognize our goal is not to become the industry leader in protecting AI images, right? That's a horizontal play, and that's a very different industry. And we're not trying to become the next Steel Dome or blockchain, right? So our goal is to stay on top of the bleeding edge of the industry, and to incorporate those capabilities into our architecture in a way that allows all of our applications to leverage those technologies, right? Our moat, which you'll see in a couple of slides, revolves around, we have the best rendering platform for planners, remodelers, custom home designers, right? We are an industry play. So our ability to recognize lines, right, and exclude the hallucinations that are extremely common in AI and the generalizations, and generate essentially actionable output from that. That's our focus, and we are currently winning, and we suspect that we will win not just in the rendering platform, but because we are addressing the workflow of, which we'll get to, of, well, somebody that's doing a plan or a remodel, they have a specific opportunity with an existing customer, but they also want to reduce their business development efforts, et cetera. So what does that mean? It means, well, how do I take the work that I've done and share that in a portfolio? So as we leverage, horizontal plays, right? Obviously, AI and AI safety and blockchain, et cetera, and create those solutions, we want to make it substantially easier to attract more business, close more business more quickly and more profitably, and then execute business with lower risk and more profit. And right now, what we've done is we've identified sort of what are the highest opportunity components of the workflow that lend themselves to technology. And then Sam has done an amazing job of applying these technologies into those workflows to create what's a dramatically better experience for remodelers. So, right, and really, as Nick said, I mean, the huge frustration could be you could spend 12, 18 hours providing rendering options for a client, and the client either decides not to do anything at all, or basically goes with your competitor. So, right, we're in a space where in a word of mouth referral type of industry, if you get a call from a referral, you can send somebody to look at your portfolio, which we helped you populate off of the work that you've done with us previously. If you're still interested, right, we can either do a design of your interior, or we're not demoing it here. You can simply take pictures of your interior or exterior, provide that to us. We'll provide a large number of options for that client. And so for the remodeler, what used to be, I'll call it a sort of a risky workflow, in that, right, anytime you leave a client without getting to yes, right, your risks go up. So in real time, you can work with that client specific to their space. Here's the options, get to a yes, right, and move the project along in what could be what used to take days to weeks can now take hours.
Yeah.
So that's the moat, right? Is we're going after the industry play, staying on top of the tech as it evolves, and creating a platform that allows us to quickly adapt to the evolving technology without sort of breaking our applications, and frankly, enabling newer applications.
Okay.
So moving on to Hauska Exchange. This is our last kind of core product here. Starting as a microsite and portfolio service with a marketplace to follow. What I'm showing you here is our designer listing viewer. It allows designers to view their listed plans, complete with renders, marketing materials, and detailed analytics. This is for people to create their portfolio service, to show off all the different renderings that they've done, the house plans that they've done to their clients. And then for the customers, we offer an immersive experience to view the renderings, search through listings, and even receive AI recommended plans. So based off of their viewing history, we'll actually go in and recommend different housing plans for the viewer. So that's our product suite. Any questions on Hauska Exchange? This is primarily we're giving, I like to think of it as Shopify, giving it customers a way to interact with their clients, and to showcase their portfolio. So diving into the current landscape, we've taken a close look at our competitors, focusing on the top 3. Firstly, we found there's a noticeable issue with poor website and marketing efforts. The grammar and overall engagement strategies fail to connect with the target audience, and this lack of professionalism deters potential clients right from the start. And secondly, the rendering capabilities are underwhelming. We're seeing a low resolution outputs, particularly struggling with elevation views. In a field where the detail is really important and the line drawings are really important to stay accurate, this is a significant issue, and this points to a clear lack of industry expertise driving their product development. This disconnect from professional guidance has led to inputs that don't meet the specific needs of the remodel and design space. With that being said, let's talk about where Hauska stands out. I think our biggest selling point is that we're not just another rendering service. We offer comprehensive solutions tailored for remodelers and designers, guiding them through their workflow from start to finish. So our advanced technology ensures high-quality renders, supporting even the most complex elevation views. Beyond rendering, our secure storage solutions ensure that your assets are protected and easily accessible. And then we go a step further by offering tools and support to help sell those plans effectively. So as we scan the market for similar offerings, we found no direct competitors in several key areas. First being the portfolio, render to portfolio workflow. We're the first to offer an integrated solution that takes your project from initial render to a complete market-ready portfolio. Next is a bundled storage and render platform. Our platform uniquely combines high-quality rendering services with secure, efficient storage capabilities. And last is protection for marketing materials and house plans. We're pioneering the integration of rendering technology with comprehensive protection for designers and their house plans. So that's it for me, my portion of the deck. From here, I'm going to pass it on to Steve. Jack, any questions that you have for me?
No, not at the moment. That was great. Thank you. Very, very thorough.
Thank you. Steve, on to you. Oh, you're on mute. There you go.
Thanks. Okay, let's talk product market fit. We're confident we have a high product fit with our target user populations, and we've begun gaining traction via word of mouth marketing. After seeing our product and discussing our product roadmap, the leader of the American Institute of Building Design is sponsoring us into their annual industry event as keynote speakers and educators in March. Likewise, the AIBD Regional East Coast Lead sponsored a webinar for Nick to discuss Hauska's capabilities with their members. This is positioning us as an authority in this new space. The 2 webinars we've conducted are encouraging. Each had approximately 30 attendees with an 80% post-webinar subscription rate. Product subscriptions are growing on average 95% per month via mostly word-of-mouth marketing and about $3,500 in Facebook ads. We're up to approximately 600 subscribers in 3 months. Questions on this slide?
Yeah, so on the 2 webinars that you did, you said with 30 people, and you've got 80% subscription, and now you're up to 600. Is that word of mouth?
Yes.
from the people that subscribed?
Yeah, I mean, literally there is, I mean, literally the only, the biggest effort on, in marketing so far is about 3,500 in Facebook ads, and these 2 webinars. So that's what's making us say we're very encouraged that, we're resonating very strongly with these target populations. And which we'll talk about substantially on the next slide, and have achieved very, very good product market fit.
So to add some more context to that, Jack,
Great.
is what the webinar people and the subscribers through Facebook are 2 different verticals within the platform. We have our interior designer. You'll get into, Steve will get into all that. I'm not going to get in, but we have the chart on the right is primarily showing our remodel contractor platform, which we've already mentioned we launched last year, whereas the data on the left is geared toward design professionals, architects, things like that. So we're showing growth in Web3 and we're showing growth in artificial intelligence is what this is saying.
All right.
Okay, let's talk about the market opportunity. There's going to be a lot of moving parts in this slide. So the US market in the remodel and custom home space is huge at over 600 billion annually, with the remodel space itself between 470 billion and 527 billion. And it's growing at approximately 4.6% a year. The custom home market is just over 100 billion. And our target market is professionals in home design, interior design, custom home build, and residential home remodeling. Market analysis indicates 1.7 million users in this space in the US alone, with an approximate growth rate in users of 5% a year.
Let me interrupt you for a second on that, please. So these are the users, the home design professionals, the interior designers, and so on.
Yeah.
And so there are roughly 250,000 design professionals.
Right. So that is a combination of licensed architects and unlicensed architects. I mean, Nick has brought me up to speed substantially in the nuances there, as right, depending on where you live, for example, you may or may not need to get a government agency to approve your, for example, your housing plans before you can implement. So Nick lives in an kind of an unregistered. Well, actually, Nick, why don't you explain?
You're in Moab, right?
Yeah, I'm in Moab. So what I do, my business model is I hang out in the unincorporated counties of Texas, Colorado, and Utah. And the reason I do that is because I don't have to deal with HOA stuff. I don't have to deal with permitting. I don't have to, there's less government oversight. So of the, all of the house plans that get designed, only a fraction of those are done by licensed architects, because residential design is a highly unregulated field. You can do up to a fourplex without any kind of certification whatsoever. And so, I'm part of the AIBD. I am certified, but that's just these numbers that I'm going to end with this very small point as Steve continues on here. All of this data is based on things that can be measured. This is not including undocumented, unregistered, all that kind of stuff. And so yes, we can confidently say through all the data that there are at least 250,000 design professionals in the United States, and that's not even including structural engineers.
Right. And the breakdown on that, for example, according to our research from IBIS World and others, it's about 50-50 between licensed architects, right, that have to submit plans, et cetera, and unlicensed architects, similar to what Nick just described, how he primarily operates.
Yeah. Okay. Big numbers.
Yeah, they are. They're big numbers. What was really eye-opening, for example, was the quantity of remodelers and the size of that market. Right, and we, as part of our research, we go down to, for example, the majority of remodeling and remodelers is going on in California and Texas. So we're starting to put together what could be a marketing attack plan.
So in the annual growth column, you're saying low single digits. So you're talking about, percentages there. So
That's right. So the architectural space, whether licensed or unlicensed, that's growing at low single digits. So registered licensed architects, they kind of grow at about 2 to 3% a year, and unlicensed architects are growing more like 5, 6% a year. So we're calling that low single digit, particularly for modeling. What we're trying to do is say, on aggregate for these populations, what we really want to get to is what's the CAGR across this group so that we can do modeling into future years. And based on that, particularly what's interesting is, so the remodel contractors, really, that's the largest population with the largest market size. And they're growing at a low double digit. But irrespective across this group, we've modeled a 5% growth rate just to try and keep the numbers reasonably conservative. Right, and similarly, as I go on, our revenue modeling is in the U.S. alone, with perhaps an additional 25% English-speaking market in the rest of the world, and that excludes much of the world that can also leverage essentially English language software. So we carry this U.S. only assumption through our analysis to remain conservative in our estimates.
it's fascinating. So under the remodel contractors, presumably I would have been included in that many years ago. I'm going back, like 30 years, when I helped my next door neighbor, who was a brilliant craftsman, but he didn't know how to sell his work, and primarily he liked to build decks. And so that's the kind of person. All right, gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And as you can imagine, so those remodel contractors break down into specialty areas, kitchens, bathrooms, decks, etc. So as I said, as we go after it, we're targeting sort of where we see the most opportunity based on how valuable a component of a workflow item it is, how much effort is spent in an area, and the likelihood that we can apply technology like AI into that spot.
Yeah, very, very good.
Awesome. So our revenue projections assume a 10%. So essentially what we're saying is, let's just assume that if you're going to milestone how we attack the market, we're saying really the first milestone that we're establishing, right? And this is going to be a slide the dial, right? So let's assume a 10% market capture of these user populations, both for a base product bundle we'll call platform subscription, and I'll explain that a little bit more in the next slide, and for Design Pro. And the key differences there really are, these are not homogeneous populations, right? Somebody that is an architect and home designer is different than a remodeler, and their requirements in the space are also different, right? So the product we have targeted specifically to the home design professional, right, Design Pro, and that consists both of licensed and unlicensed architects with more rigorous product requirements. Subscriptions or annualized amounts, or ARR, we find represent a compelling value to our target users. So these are many times people that are in the 70 to 120,000 a year income, and we're saying at the low end, we're trying to get them on an ARR, an annual recurring revenue amount of 120 a year. So again, given that the amount of time that they will save and renderings, etc., right, we think that's low. Frankly, we think out of the gates, even our high-end estimate of 240 a year, we think that that could very well be low. But right, we recognize that the numbers are big, so we'd rather use low base assumptions, which are credible and achievable, right, than starting out on the high end. So the net here is, with that level of capture, we see a 65 million to 86 million ARR business for initial market capture. Let's click. So over the next period of time, we've modeled 5 years. And as we continue to build our product, we see an increasing license opportunity with a 900 million to 1.5 billion ARR opportunity. And that represents 40% market capture of the overall population and 50% market capture of the home design professionals. Again, we've only modeled US markets and see rest of the world as an additional attractive opportunity. And I'll go off script here for a second here, Jackson, so we just have you. We know there's a tipping point in this market. At some point, once we get enough design professionals using a rendering tool that far outstrips the quality and speed of what was done in the past, you'll see a significant acceleration in market adoption, simply because the old style of doing business will no longer be relevant. So at some point, 40 and 50% becomes 80, 90%. And then you'll have somewhere between a 10 and 20% of people that just retire or drop out, because they're not going to cross the chasm of simply what's, a new expectation. And this is simply, right, as we know, during market adoption, there's an initial resistance, and there's adoption and an acceleration. Used to be, right, for when cell phones came out, there was a population of people like me who resisted using a cell phone. Right, I was a consultant, and I didn't particularly want to be reachable when I was on vacation, frankly. Right, and then right, as an Accenture partner, that became untenable. Right, I had clients that were, had 100 million contracts with me, and further partners that their simple expectation was I was at their call. Right, I was forced to adapt. I was forced to get a cell phone. And of course, what did I learn? It was actually a huge boon, because I could go on vacation, or I could be anywhere in the world, and they could reach me. Right, so my flexibility went up dramatically. So we know that is in the future. And again, we're not going to model that because those numbers become, beyond expectation, frankly. But we know it's coming. So the other thing, since we're ad-libbing, is, we know that once it becomes a captured market and it becomes the base expectation, right, then the technology basically creates what I'll call is sort of opportunity inflation. So 2 data points on this. One is, we all used to have home phones, and that used to run us like, 10, 20 bucks a month. And it was one phone for the household. Right now, everyone in the household has a phone, say family of 4, and every one of those plans are like 100 bucks a month. Right, so what started out as, oh, this is a great time saver, and it is amazing technology, but what was just a base capability has grown into something that is far beyond what, frankly, Apple or any other mobile phone provider ever imagined. Right, the next one is really with sort of the Netflix, Amazon platforms. What started out as, we used to get free TV, and the trade-off for that was we watched advertisements. Now we pay to watch TV, and we also get fed advertisements as part of that payment. Right, so we see, frankly, the opportunity space here is twofold. We'll continue to build out our products to make them very attractive and sticky. And at the same time, we see that a tipping point will occur that will force these professionals onto our platform. And then thirdly, we see the opportunity for, I'll call it technology adoption inflation, to drive an increasing share of wallet for these professionals. All that said, so, you know, $600 to $1,200 a year, 5 years from now, 7 years from now, for the types of rendering tools that are taking days and in aggregate, perhaps weeks out of the workflow, still remains an incredibly compelling value to the people that we're talking about. So if there are any more questions on this slide?
Yeah, not the slide that you have up, but the one that Nick sent me. I know you've obviously updated it since I got it yesterday.
Yep.
On mine, in the top box, where it says 2023 US only market total,
Yep.
in the top box on mine, it was US design, editing, rendering, SW revenue.
Software.
What did SW
So
stand
that's
for?
software. Yeah. So what we did was, so the first group of people that we presented to said it was extremely difficult to see how the projections that we have relate to a market, particularly a point market today that's somewhere in the 1.5 billion of spend. Right. So once I said, well, really, we're trying to address an overall market, right, in the 600 billion range, and we're really only looking to capture less than 1% of that market in technology adoption. That was a much stronger, that resonated much more strongly than basically referring to an existing point solution space that exists today. And we're really talking about creating, we're creating new market opportunities with the technology. We know it's viable because, our prospects tell us so. Our word of mouth adoption is very high. Industry organizations like the AIBD are extremely excited to see it. And yet, as the technology emerges, obviously it is enabling new capabilities in the space that didn't exist before. So part of what we're doing is we're sizing this new space. And so the existing point solutions like AutoCAD or SketchUp aren't a great representation of creating a perspective of how realistic it is to scale up to that size, right? And basically what I'm saying here is, we think that's low, right? That's English only, US only, for subscription amounts that frankly remain incredibly compelling relative to how much money they even make today in the space.
And that's talking about the major point solutions, we're not looking to replace any of them. We're looking to integrate into them. And so of whatever that number was, 500 billion, or whatever the number is, we just kind of mesh and weave into that, and so, and I think that's one of what has been a realization through this process is that how special, and I know I've already said this, but how special this is, like this team, this moment in time, where we're at, and the opportunity that's in front of us is absolutely outstanding. So,
I'm really impressed, and I guess one of the questions that I'm going to ask, if not now, later, but I'll ask it now. You've come up with what seems to be just a brilliant idea here. What protects you from somebody else trying to do the same thing?
So we went down, and I had this conversation. I would like to hear what Sam and Steve had to say about this as well. But from my perspective, because I was asked that question when we launched our first remodel application. I had a good friend of mine. He hooked me up with a guy from Microsoft, and we were talking through it. Same question. And, at that time, it was like point solutions are very, very hard to patent and protect. With what we have here, and so let me back up. So I left that conversation, and that's what, that's essentially what the fruit of it was like. It's going to be real hard to protect this one point solution. Since then, right, it's evolved into what we see now. And so whether or not we can protect this is an exercise that we need to have, right? But it's twofold. I mean, we can either, well, we need to do both things. We need to, get patent attorneys to look at it, look through the viability of it, dig into it, but also we need speed. We need to be the first to market and flood the market. And that's what we are currently teed up to do with the AIBD conference and all these things is, in that moment in Myrtle Beach in early March, we will have instant market authority. So it'll add to the moat. It won't be the whole moat. Yes, we need to do the patenting and look into all those aspects. But in my view, being able to sit in front of our audience on that platform and become the industry professionals is probably the quickest way to building a moat around us. And I'm curious to hear other people.
I think the biggest thing is the team that we've assembled, as well as our current speed to market. So already we have the base platform and we're building out the remaining products. I think first of all, the other competitors that we've seen in the space, they don't have industry guidance. So they don't have someone like Nick who can tell me what inputs we need for this artificial intelligence to make this viable, how we need to train it, how we need to tune it so that we're getting the most accurate results, what's important, what isn't important. So having that industry guidance on the team is a huge leg up. I think the other biggest thing is my research in artificial intelligence, in image generation and training artificial intelligences. I think finding a combination of a team who has someone with my expertise in the artificial intelligence field, as well as Nick to be able to guide me, I think that's just a very rare combination. Already finding people proficient in artificial intelligence research and development can be difficult. To find a combination that you see with our current team today, I think is even more rare. So trying to spin something up in the next 6 months, we'll already have a product out there released and we already have our MVP out. I don't see people being able to kind of knock us down from that position. I think the other big component is we already have 6 months of research and development from our initial launch. And that was last September when we first started onboarding a couple users. So we've been at this for already 6 months. And we're already about to release our newest MVP. We just have such a leg up on any sort of competitors and anyone else trying to get into this space. We're really just shaking the whole industry in that regard.
And also, we have somebody that built the first vertical at Oracle, right? They done it, and so we don't need to say it's not going to be a bunch of guesswork. We have the playbook, we have the team, and the market is there. And so, yes, we need to do all the appropriate due diligence and patenting and see what we can do on that front. But that's in my opinion, that's secondary.
Yeah. I mean, as we hypothesize, I mean, I think there's obviously there's a lot of moving parts to a solution. So one of the challenges to the existing providers is really the base technology driving this is incredibly different from what existing software providers are used to. So if I look at the traditional software providers that that provide, I'll say workforce solutions, and these are the really the biggest software companies in the world are Microsoft, Oracle, and SAP. So addressing Oracle and SAP, this industry is not even on their radar, point blank. So they're not even thinking about working on the problem. The second thing is, frankly, both of those companies have become more of I'll call them consolidators than innovators, right? Their business model right now revolves around acquiring companies for cash flow, right? Basically doing wage and function arbitrage on those companies and driving that into buybacks, number one, and dividends, number two. So their historic R&D spend is a component of that. So what I will say is every year, those companies spend less of R&D, and they use that to financially engineer their income statement to hit analyst expectations and manage their stock price. Right? That's just flat out where they are. So I will extend that as well, right? Look at Cisco Systems. When has Cisco done anything innovative? Right? I was helping to build out internet capability in the 90s when Cisco, the biggest thing Cisco did was had enough money to basically consolidate the initial, I'll call it internet hardware space. But there were companies at the time like Synopsys who were far more innovative than Cisco, right? Cisco really, what they really did is they created this consolidation model in the tech space. And then really Larry Ellison followed that at high rate. So it's not even on their radar. So Microsoft, right, they're so busily trying to capture the horizontal space in AI, they don't see this market opportunity. And frankly, even if they did, I don't know that it would be very attractive to them. As funny as that may be, right? I mean, they're going after what they consider to be trillion-dollar markets. And for them, $1 billion incrementally, honestly, it just doesn't hit their radar, right? So I know Google as well. So the CEO of Google, Thomas Kurian, used to be one of the lead product developers at Oracle. And what I can tell you is Google does not have anything like this on their radar. And frankly, they're too busy trying to address Amazon and Microsoft in the cloud space than also worrying about going after $1 billion market. So I would say the big guys are more likely to be an exit strategy than a competitive strategy. It's just not their model. So that takes us to, will there be other startups to take a run at this? Well, we know that they're not out there today from a platform perspective. We know that there are people, I'll say, playing at the rendering space, right? And right when we put our heads together and took a look at what they're doing, they're not serious. They're basically taking existing models and running those renders through off-the-shelf models with what looks like very little to no training. So I'm happy they're in the space because it lends some credibility to the space, right? But they're not thinking through, this is an industry, right? This is an industry specific solution that needs to take those requirements into account. And the current AI models, they simply are, they just have far too much artistic license with what they're generating. Right, at the end of the day, if you can't conform to the lines of the planner, then what gets rendered might be a pretty picture, right? But it's not going to be credible with the end client. So we spent a lot of time thinking about how are we going to address the specific industry in its workflow capacity, and how are we going to design, frankly, what is really, it's a series of point solutions that are glued together into a workflow by an architecture that makes that easy. So how do I, right, and very soon it's, if I'm in the middle of an AutoCAD or a SketchUp session and I want to see what the rendering looks like, I'm going to be able to push a button right in that application and I'm going to be able to see a rendering output. That rendering output goes into Hauska Drive, and then I'm able to select, do I want to protect this image from AI learning? And that process also takes a little bit of time, so I might not always do that. And then how do I then easily, right, and then from Hauska Drive, I can easily take that image and put that into my portfolio from to basically display, here's what the elevation looked like, right? Here's what the line diagram looked like. And then here's the types of renderings that are available. So that starts to make a very simple, easy, and incredibly sticky workflow for these professionals, because it solves many problems at once. It solves, right, how do I create the rendering? And how do I create a much more effective business development against existing prospects? And it solves the, how do I start to generate incremental prospects off of my portfolio and even leverage that portfolio maybe to gain passive income? We don't see anybody thinking about how to address that opportunity space.
Did that answer your question, Jack?
Yes.
Yeah,
very
right.
well.
And what I'd say is, and by the way, if they want to get into the space and compete with us 18 to 24 months from now, you know, I'd freaking love that, because all that's going to do is add substantially more credibility in the space, right? And we're going to have a huge lead on everybody. So I'm okay with that, right? And then ideally that generates options, which is there's maybe exit options from the bigger players who realize they missed the boat, right? And ideally it gives us an option saying, well, if we can continue to extend our lead in this space, right, our market cap grows exponentially. And, you know, and frankly, there's none of us that are thinking about this as a 3 or 5 year opportunity, right? I'm looking at this personally as this is at least a decade of opportunity out here, right? And you're talking to people that obviously have been involved in technology for their careers, right? We're excited about it. And all three of us, we're not excited about technology because it's just cool in and of itself, right? We are very interested in applying technology to solve business problems and making money off that.
Very excellent. You're putting a smile on my face, because it kind of reminds me of when I got involved in the discussions about the cannabis industry in 2010. Nobody knew about it, and we had to be first to market, and we were. And I understand it, and your numbers are huge, just like the ones that I developed, because the guys that found this takes me on to the next one. I won't go on. I want you to finish your presentation to me, and then I've got a hard stop at noon.
Got it.
So
We only got a couple more slides, so let's get
Yeah,
through it.
and I looked at your deck, so I've got quite. You're doing a great job, guys. Thanks. I'm very impressed.
Thank
Keep
you.
going.
Yeah, we'd love to have you on board, Jack.
Well, I'm not off board. Keep me going.
Stacy. Click.
Are we going past this one?
JC.
Are we going?
Oh,
Okay, so currently we're looking for $1 million in funding via SAFEs with a 5 million valuation cap. And our expectation is we would then very quickly move into a price round.
you missed the slide, the one before
I
this.
did?
Yeah.
You made that. She had clicked it. Yeah, this one. And these are details around the bundling. So I don't know if we need to discuss this based on.
Oh, we looked through the revenue model. Yes. So let's look at the revenue model. Oh my goodness. So now I'm gonna have to click on mine. So this slide shows the details for pricing, the platform, and applications used on the prior slide. Our planned pricing provides a compelling value to users based on both feedback and the growing use of our platform, and it targets a 90% operating margin off our technology operations. This slide also has a preview of potential roadmap products and features and the initial stages of definition we plan on using to increase our per user average ARR. I don't plan to walk through the details of this slide, but I'm happy to take questions.
All right. Question.
Great.
On your revenue model side, you said, the subscription of $15 a month per seat. On your website, which I visited, it suggests, I think, $70 a month.
Yeah.
Was that the loan? So how do I jump from the 15 to 70? Is that assuming there are a number of people that have seats?
No, the old what you visited was our rollout from last year, and that's
Okay.
that's our remodel platform.
Okay.
And so that's an old model.
Okay.
So the 50 as well. So that's what we're talking about with Design Pro on this slide. And Design Pro is currently in beta, and it's an invitation only beta.
Okay.
And so you don't even see that on our website, but people are already using the product right now, right, so that they can give us user feedback.
Okay. So I'm not, we already jumped to the next slide. Let's stay on this one for a moment.
Yeah.
What you guys have done reminds me of the guys that I got involved with in cannabis. They spent 2 years researching long before, so they started their research in 2008, before anybody had a notion of where it was going nationally. And they developed it on a national basis. And again, I'm very impressed with what you've done. They did the same thing. Brilliant analysis, incredible revenue potential. And they came to me and said, we want you to help us. And I said, what kind of help? And they said, well, raise money. Well, all my work has been with institutions. I said, there's no way we're going to raise money from institutions. And I mean, they had a marvelous presentation like what you've done here, and incredibly detailed, and it was very hard to argue with the revenue modeling. Here you're showing me a 90% operating margin. Where is that margin falling? How do you define operating margin in this business?
So as we've defined it on this slide is that's the profit off of our technology operations. So that's multifaceted. So if you think back to our platform slide, our platform leverages basically off the shelf technology. So that includes, for example, storage, right? So we don't want to become, we don't really want to develop our own data centers, create storage. We just want to use somebody else's. So we're going to have to pay a storage provider for that storage. We're going to have to obviously pay a cloud provider for our website operations. So when you look at all of the costs that we have to pay to deliver the basic service of our platform, that's going to drive a 90% margin. So if we basically stopped bringing anybody onto the platform and we stopped selling, we got rid of all of our go-to-market teams, et cetera, you'd have a business that still wouldn't be a 90% business, because you're going to have basic business administration, right? You're still going to need HR, you're still going to need finance, you're going to still need those things, but simply off the tech, right? And we wind down R&D and development. That 90% could easily translate into a 60% overall bottom line margin business. And we think, if we can get to this level of scale, then, very quickly, I could see, even with those go-to-market teams in place, you're going to move from moving into a 40% bottom line margin, so EBITDA margin of 40%. And as we gain more scale, I could see that driving up towards like what any of these other tech companies are accomplishing. A 50% bottom line margin is certainly within grasp, particularly because once you become a gorilla in the space, word of mouth marketing is the majority of all you need, because awareness is incredibly high. If you exist in the remodel, custom home building, et cetera space, the name Hauska, right? So we're not fighting to just create awareness and convince people that we've got a solution that's incredible for them and helps solve their problems, creates opportunity. So that's how we're defining it right now, and that's why we're focusing on the 90%, is because we want to conform to what's pretty typical in the tech industry, which is right, an incredibly high margin business, and just off of our operations. And we look at that as well from a buy versus build. So before we integrate to an existing component into our stack, we look at how much that's going to cost us and whether or not initially it makes sense to just at least build an initial capability ourselves that'll work, versus buy something from somewhere else, because we want to be very sensitive to what that margin is going to be.
And I think to just add on to Steve's point is we don't have to achieve scale to become profitable. We need to get this thing running in the format that we're proposing, and just turn it on. Let's get the machine running. Let's get people coming on. And then, that will provide us a sound business. Then we scale from there.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're familiar, Jack, with, as we progress, the levers we pull to profitability will revolve around our ability to capture market. If we are unprofitable, but we're continuing to capture market in the rate of 40, 60, 100% continuously, then it makes sense to continue to invest into that growth. And I'll say sort of obviously depending on what interest rates do. Right. So I think we're no longer in the growth at all costs environment that we've seen up through 2021. I don't think we'll ever see the Fed drop rates down to zero and a negative real interest rate. I just question whether we'll ever see that environment again. And yet, if you can capture market hand over fist, the question becomes, how quickly do you become profitable? So I hope that's a problem we have to answer a few years from now, right? We'll work with Tom and our investors to get to an answer to that. But exactly as Nick says, I mean, we want to develop a model to where once we get to at least a base level of scale, that we'll have staying power irrespective of what the financial markets hand us in terms of access to capital.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well said.
Good. That helps me understand a little bit. I'm going to put a different description to your 90% operating margin and tell me if I'm wrong. I might look at it as cost of goods sold. Is that?
Sure. Yeah.
Not 90%. So 10% cost of goods sold based on your current product that you're offering.
Exactly.
And then you have all the other, cost of business that bring you down to EBITDA. Okay. And that was a good explanation. Thank you. So that's good. I don't know if you want it. So the next slide was your $1 million to, I assume you mean the simple agreement for future equity investment. Is that the safe?
Right.
Yeah. So you're essentially talking about selling 20% of the company.
Correct.
For $1 million. Okay. So
then we would immediately move into a price round after. The objective is, we need $3 million in 2024 to build out what we're proposing. We want to offer $1 million in safes. Hopefully we're closing that within the next couple of weeks, and then move into a price round, which, where we collect the other $4 million. We want $3 million for 24, and then we want another $2 million to get into 25, and then probably looking at another price round in 25.
Okay. And so to me, that's the important part for investors at this stage to look at. And I'm in a pretty, there's a group I really want to show this to, and I'll talk to you guys later about it, or talk to Tom, but how much of a raise how much of your $1 million have you gotten now?
We took on a safe for $50,000, and I have personally invested $300,000 throughout 2023.
Fantastic. All right,
So,
good.
but to answer, the way I'm looking at it is everything that happened in 2023 is my angel position. And in this round, this $1 million that you see on the screen, we have raised $50,000.
Okay. And you're looking to raise the balance of it and then the rest of it. So that's always the issue, as you guys know, you've done startups, and that was the same thing with our cannabis company. We had projections that we've met in terms of revenue. So we're now at 1.4 billion in revenue, which I had kind of forecast 14 years ago. I didn't go out that far. I only went 5, and the numbers were incredible, like yours, with amazing margins that were EBITDA margins that were greater than 50%, and I couldn't believe it. But it took me. I mean, nobody anywhere prior to my doing it had modeled a company, other than basic black market cannabis, which was, and that's why they came to me and they said, we want you to tell us how much money we need money. And I said, how much? Well, we don't know. We want you to tell us. So, and I didn't know anything, as really nobody did other than the guys that were growing in their basements. And here we were modeling a company to go, national and global like we are now. And I couldn't believe that I spent about 500 or 600 hours doing a financial model, really literally, before I got deeply involved with the company. That's deep involved. I didn't believe my own numbers. They were insane.
Yeah.
And the profitability that you're looking at here is tech stuff, obviously, and that's insane too. But it works if you can execute, and it's beautiful. So
I can relate. I mean, Nick can attest. I've been on with the phone with him a couple of times, going, right?
Yeah.
I just ran the numbers again. Maybe we should push these down. I mean, they're incredible, right? I've rechecked all the math again, right? It all foots, but these are really large numbers.
Yeah,
So
I didn't have anybody that could argue with me. I mean, it was because, well, the guys I was working with didn't understand finance at all. And I spent an incredible amount of time talking to growers, and, all they knew was, in their black market days. I mean, one of our partners who became a partner, had been doing it, through college, and, earning himself $30,000 a month. He was already a millionaire before we started. And I said, tell me how to run the business. And he looked at me, and, nobody wanted to talk about it. They all thought they knew how to do it better than anybody else. And I think tech guys are in that same category too. I mean, you're obviously incredibly bright, but there are other ones out there too. And
so can I ask you this, Jack? And giving what I just said, would you agree with our fundraising strategy, or would you change it?
Well, I'm getting to that. And so the answer is, I personally, and I don't know whether Tom told you, my wife is adamantly opposed to me, making any fresh new investments at this stage in our lives.
Right.
I'm an old guy, guys, really old, but I get excited about this kind of stuff. So I'm excited for you, and I want to help out. And who knows? I mean, maybe I might get involved, but I don't want you to think about me getting invested in this dollar wise. I think to say you're raising $1 million, I think you need to have the picture that says, we're doing $1 million now, and we're doing, 2 million later, and, we need a total of 5. I'd like personally to see something. It doesn't have to be great detail, but your page, goes after this page of $1 million, where how we plan to invest the money, to see how you guys are modeling it. I mean, and I'm sure you've done it, Steve, more than just bringing it down to, we're going to get 40-50% EBITDA. Everybody today seems to be raising money on these kinds of models. I'm not uncomfortable with it, because I have more money than I wish I had invested now that I've started, several years ago with private equity deals after we went public, and I took a lot off the table and had the ability to do it. They haven't all panned out, and they're not all lost. I mean, I'm still, think that a number of them will come to fruition. But I'll go back to what I said before we started. The guys started their research in 2008. We formed the company in 2010. We raised, well, when I did my model, I said we needed, probably 15 million to get to where we are today. The founder of the company didn't want to give away that much money. He wanted to value the company without a shred of revenue. You guys have got revenue. He wanted to value it at $20 million. A cannabis company, please. Really, it was worth 20 million. But nobody knew it. How are we going to execute? So we did a $2 million raise. I said, we're out of money in 2 years with that. And I had a detailed plan where we were going with everything. And we were raising money every second of every day for a year. I was down to $15,000 in the bank on December 12th of 2000. I think it was 2012, or was it 2011? We got our first 2 million in 2011. So I guess it was 2012. We had investors online that were committed to putting in millions. I was sure they were going to see through all my financial projections, which I didn't want to give to them. I mean, in the detail that I had, deep spreadsheets, just because that's me. I wanted to know every single thing about how it worked. And the quick story again, I hope I'm not boring you, but the guys I spoke to who were the growers who knew how to do it couldn't make mistakes. They were making so much money at their small scale.
Right.
They didn't pay taxes either, obviously. But if they sold $1 million worth of grass, they put, $600,000 or $700,000 in their pocket. I said, we're going to scale this. How do I know? I need to know, everything you've done. Well, they didn't have those records. Said, well, I think I spend, this on nematodes. I think I spend this on lights, on electricity. The big ones they knew. So I'm assuming that you have the capability of doing sort of some modeling to put together how we plan to invest the money. You don't have to have all that to raise your $1 million, but I knew we were going to run out of money. We got the money committed that came in the next day. I got $5 million in the second round, but I never thought we were going to make it.
So to answer your question, Chasey has put together some financial models, and we're cross-referencing that with our attorneys currently, and we're supposed to have something by end of day.
Okay. And that's not critical to me. It's critical, I think, that you guys have it. This presentation is really good. I think it gets people excited. I'm excited. Really, I think you're onto something big. Really, it's incredible. And you've clearly done your homework and you know what you're doing. I don't have any doubt about that. At the end of the day, it obviously is execution, and people have to believe that you can execute on the long term. And that's the difference between when I was involved in our company, and I no longer am, other than I'm still a major shareholder. But the execution is not quite where I thought it ought to be, at this stage. But that's another story. I did well, and it works, and it's fun. But what you guys are doing is fun, and it looks to me like it's going to be incredibly valuable.
Good to hear.
I mean, I really mean that. So if you've got something, that you can send out, I'd love to take a look at it. I'm happy to sign confidentiality agreements if you'd like that. Seems to me like you're so well protected that nobody can do it anyway, but candidly, I'm happy to sign an NDA. You decide on that. But I'd be happy to look at the stuff you have and give you my thoughts. And I want to noodle on this. And there's a group that is big time in blockchain, and they, raising money for a bunch of companies, and I've invested along with them in their single purpose vehicles. And they've done well, and they're smart, and they would understand this, and they have investors behind them. And there's no doubt in my mind that you all get along very well. But then, there are ways to do this. And I think you've got a good package to show people.
So can I ask you a question that came up? We did an advisory board meeting last Friday. And so I'm just curious on presentation. Like, do you think this is not enough detail, too much detail, or just the right amount of detail?
I think it's about the right amount of detail, but the question that I asked you before about, the 90% margin, I kind of feel like you should have, if nothing else, a 5-year, 3 to 5 year revenue, gross profit, and then, a forecast EBITDA line, just to, somebody that wants to try to put a capitalization on it. You're showing a $5 million cap value as a raise. Where'd that come from? If I could see, 5 years, 3 is a minimum. Look, I've done financial modeling for so long, I can do it in my sleep, but it's why people come to me. They believe me when I see it. I don't disbelieve what you're saying, but if you just, have those numbers, then people can ask more questions. And a lot of people don't like to do it, and they can raise money, without doing it. And I'm not saying you can't if you get the right people. But I think that's an important part. And what was my other one? Hang on here. I've got some. I think, let me look at my notes on the, I think, second or third page where you had your Hauska applications, Hauska technology platform, and platform integrations.
Yeah.
I'm not sharp enough to have understood some of the acronyms of AI model DB, which I now know is database because I figured it out, and SDK, which is software development kit, and APIs, application programming interface. There might be a lot of people that do understand that if they're techies. I'm not really a techie, but I figured out how to figure it out. So I answered my own questions, but maybe in small print you put that in there. Let me look at what else, but otherwise I think it was really pretty doggone good. And in studying it, and this is why I asked Tom, yesterday when you sent me the invitation. I said, I'd love to see the deck in advance, and I determined that those line drawings went to a rendering, which I thought was really cool. And by the way, I love the house and the the beautiful rustic house. It's my dream house.
That's awesome.
Let me see what else I had. I think when you give the pitch, I'm on the market opportunity and revenue projections. I was wondering how you determined what the potential users were, and you explained that well. And then in your market platform capture of 10%, psychologically, I'm 10%, you capture 10%. There's no doubt you're probably going to get a whole lot more than that. Anybody that looks at it can, do their own modeling and say, oh, I'm going to cut it back. If you cut it back, and this goes back to my own projections when I was modeling it, this is too much, insanity. We can't say this to anybody, but we did, and they accepted it, and we did. But I wouldn't change that. No,
So
go ahead.
Well, some people I talked with two people actually from the advisory board, and both have experience pitching in different industries, and they said this is a 2-date thing. It's not a 1-date deal, and so meaning it's like we need to be doing an introductory some kind of truncated introduction to see if they want a second meeting or not. Would you agree with that, or do you find that not very applicable?
I think the presentation you guys made today is absolutely fantastic. You have assembled a really, really solid team, in my opinion. You know what you're talking about. An investment that I made through the group that I want to talk about, and I'll call them and tell them, briefly what it is that I'm looking at and see if they're interested. The group that they brought to my attention, in which I made an investment, had a really good pitch, but not as good as yours. And it's in healthcare and science, and really bright guys. There's no question when you meet this group that you've assembled that you know what you're doing, and your background is excellent. I don't know the answer, guys. I think if you can get people to sit down like we have, and we're taking more time than you had to, just because I'm extending it. But your 20 minutes to half an hour is a really good presentation. And I think if you can click with people that find this really interesting, and that's how I don't know how you find them, other than people like me. I mean, it rings my bell because of what I've done and the things I want to do. But isn't everybody out there that has a little bit of money, has probably remodeled a home, has probably seen things? I think they can relate to it. I think your audience is big. It's a question of how do you get the right guys in quick enough to get you that $1 million,
right?
But also the guys that are coming in with the $1 million need to know that the next $1 million is coming. It's are you going to a down round after this? The most dangerous thing that can happen to you. You raise $1 million and you get 20% of the company, but is the next $1 million the one that is needed to keep you alive, and you have to go to a down round? That's the scary part.
So should we build narrative around that? Because we could talk for another 30 minutes on I guess our view of.
And I'm happy to pick up on that too, guys. I just have to get on a call to Hawaii, of all places, in a couple of minutes, 5 minutes.
Okay, well, I mean,
call me, Nick. I'm happy to chat, with you or all of you again.
Okay.
I thoroughly enjoy this. Keeps my brain, moving. Don't know if it's worth anything, but
no, it's been worth it. I mean, I think I can speak for everyone when we just genuinely say thank you. This has been an incredible insight, and I would definitely like to follow up with some more specifics. And if we could, meet the people you're talking about, that would be incredible as well.
Yeah, happy to do that. I've got somewhat of a time factor, and you guys probably have it too, but I'm not sure. I'm headed out of town on the 1st of March, and I won't be back until the 31st, and pretty much dedicated to my wife during that month. We're both leaving town and going to Florida for a month. It doesn't mean I won't have some time between now and then. I've got a little bit of time, so let me think about this and the best way for me to, get in touch with a couple of friends. But I'm happy to, reschedule another call too, if you want to.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
You bet. I'm gonna bid you all adieu, and we can, catch up through Tom or, directly, however you guys want to do it. But I'll at least reach out to Tom.
Good deal.
Thanks,
Thank
Jack.
you.
It's been a real
Thank you,
pleasure.
Jack. It's been a
Thank you,
pleasure.
Jack.
Thank you, Jack.
Thanks, guys. Great
Say
job.
hi to Patty. Hi to Patty.
Yes, thanks.
Okay.
All right. Take care.
Charlie,
Bye.
bye.
See ya.
Bye now.